You can view the video of this podcast on Jazz Cabbage's YouTube or Facebook pages.
Q has joined us. All right, Anqunette, how are you doing?
Excellent.
And culture, that's your line of products, CBD products, is that correct?
Yes, that's true. And I apologize. I can't find my light. I'm just like, the horror. But yeah, so sorry.
You're not going to be burning cannabis while you're talking to us, is that?
Oh, no. I always have a lighter. I don't have a
Oh, the extra light to make the video image.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. You're fine.
Jamie's mind is on a
shame on you.
I was going to say, we don't mind. If you need to go get a lighter, please do. That's,
No, she's apologizing, even though she looks better than everybody on this call. She's apologizing that she's not as hot as normal because of the lighting. But it's okay. It's okay.
Oh, women, man. Wow.
No.
Wow, Shelly.
Everyone is
I'm
beautiful.
messing with her. She knows.
So Anqunette, of course, is famous for so many different things. Of course, Fox 2 News anchor for a long time, wonderful following in Detroit, multiple sclerosis diagnosis, and of course, eventually having to step away from the news desk. But using cannabis to conquer your pharmaceutical scenario was really, I mean, that was a story that brought a lot of people to your side. How is your multiple sclerosis doing? How is your health?
Health is okay. I'll say okay. These are some stressful times, I will say that. But so trying to get the stress under control. But no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm sure I'll be seeing a neurologist soon, as Total side note, these insurance companies, I think I have an appointment, then I don't have an appointment. I get a pre-authorization, then I don't have a pre-authorization. And see, this is the reason why I said I'm done with the pharmaceuticals, because the hassle of trying to get your prescription. Anyway, but no, short answer is I'm doing okay. Thank you for asking, and happy MS Awareness Week.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
As well as National Women's
Glad
Month.
you could come on here to remind people about that.
Thank you. And the orange is for MS, so. Yeah.
With the MICBD conferences we did, you did a very powerful presentation where you would talk about the prescriptions that you were on at one time, taking each individual pill bottle and setting it up on the podium as you described what each one was going to supposedly do for you and how many you had to take.
And how expensive it was.
Oh, ridiculous. And then I solved this one with cannabis. I solved this one with cannabis. I solved this one with cannabis. As you take them away, it's a very powerful statement of the power of cannabis. And you've really become quite the spokesperson for the industry.
Well, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be one of the many great spokespeople in this industry. So I'm in great company, obviously. You guys
Those skills will be applied, of course, April 3rd for Hash Bash, in which you're going to be the official master of ceremonies for that. A couple of us will be there with you, and
I'm grateful.
Many people on this call will be there with you, and it's going to be a fun day.
I agree. You guys have been working really, really hard on it, and it's almost here. And the grand production this time. So it's always a grand production, but now it's going to be a more contained production, I guess.
Well, we talked about it a little earlier on a phone call today. There are so few opportunities for America's news media to turn their eyes on the cannabis community in a positive light. So few celebrations that we have anymore that really give an insight into what actual cannabis consumers are doing, as opposed to a little Jeezy, cannabis line opening that they cover. And the fact is that Hash Bash has to have representation from the governor and from the attorney general in order to bring that positivity and remind everybody, not just in Michigan, but nationally, exactly how normal cannabis use is and how strong we are because we're united together. And I think having a physical presence on Hash Bash is important, but also having the speeches and having the message delivered is equally as important. And that's what the digital program strives to do.
I'll smoke to that.
Yeah, so there are people who are going to show up at the Hash Bash. Permits are not being given. The city doesn't want a mass gathering, but as part of the tradition, as part of the passion that people have there, and as things have been opening up a little bit, and maybe even the weather continues to be nicer,
Mhm.
a lot of people are going to be showing up there and also paying tribute in that way.
You
But the
know,
mass gathering thing is, a little bit too early for that, and so this alternative will be going on.
I agree. And hey, protesters have, this is a community of protesters. so, so who are we to say, hey, don't, whatever. It's a free country. People protest against the rules, against protesting. So that's the right. And but we'll be in a studio, socially distanced and wearing masks when appropriate, and until this is until the numbers are better. So
And that
until
avail
yeah.
that broadcast will take place via the Twitch, a broadcasting platform. Will probably be viewable on a variety of other sources, including maybe YouTube, Facebook,
YouTube.
maybe even some the Roku streaming application. We're working some stuff out, but it looks like this year's digital hash bash is going to be viewable internationally with ease. Nice. It's possible too that we might get a message from Chuck Schumer, who's the Senate Majority Leader and who's pushing a lot of pro-cannabis legislation in the United States Senate.
Mm,
That would be a big message.
He
yeah.
wants to make it a focus this session and see what
Yep.
actually comes of it.
Anqunette, you've been doing the high tea programs though for a while, and Jamie and I we talked about it earlier. I think we both attended or each attended one of your last two in-person high tea events, but you just successfully pulled one off online. Can you talk about that and the challenges that offered you?
Well, who doesn't love a great challenge? So and COVID-19 has definitely challenged all of us. So yeah, I was doing in-person tea parties at a bud and breakfast in Detroit for a few months before COVID, and then COVID hit. And when I conducted the tea party at the summer annual for the MICIA, the Michigan Cannabis Industry Association, one of the provisioning centers asked me to consider transitioning it to an online format. So I do these with nurse Kathleen Graham. She's with cannabisnurse.com. and and it's an opportunity for people to talk to a medical professional about cannabis, about how to use it, how it can be used for their specific medical issues, how to become more comfortable with it, the best ways to use it. And so we decided to try to come up with a program that's no more than an hour or so. I'm not sure how long people want to stare at a screen, especially sort of late at night, and people are busy. And also, have some people who have been staring at screens all day for work. And so maybe they may not want to, but so we want to try to be cognizant of their time and respectful of people's time and get a lot of information and opportunity in about an hour. So we start off with the brief Cannabis 101. From there, we have a brief little snippet about vapes sponsored by Select. I'm thankful for their sponsorship. And from there, we move into our discussion. Last month, it was depression, anxiety, and showing yourself some love. This month, for MS awareness, it is MS and autoimmune conditions. And we spend the bulk of the time talking about how cannabis can be used to address specific health issues or circumstances. We give people the opportunity to ask any questions that they want. I give people a brief tutorial on how to use cannabis in food. So I teach them how to infuse oil or how to make their own capsules if they need to make ratio capsules. It's just basic cannabis and how to use it in your everyday life. And we end on a high note. So we have a success story from someone who has successfully used cannabis and it has improved their life. So we hope to get all of that jam-packed in an hour.
Now this time you actually had folks that picked up kits from different provisioning centers, and then they were able to open them during the event along with others and share that experience, sort of melding the real world and the ether, right?
Yeah, so since we can't all, my in-person tea parties, one of the big draws was that if you've never used, if you've never dabbed, for example, if you've never vaped, if you've never seen a volcano, if you don't know how to roll a joint, we do all of that. So it was back in the days of puff puff pass, and cannabis was a communal experience. So since we can't do that anymore, we wanted to find a way to bring the experience to still have a sesh. You know, so I'm really grateful that about 20 provisioning centers now all over the state of Michigan have teamed up with me, and they are participating providers of culture kits, and I put together that kit in mind from my first experience of walking into a provisioning center and being overwhelmed and just saying, give me what the last person had. So yeah, so it basically has a grinder card, a chillum, a Cannabis 101 pamphlet. It has CBD tea in it, so we can all drink our tea together. And it has an overview of the products that I have available online, my CBD line, which is CBD and other cannabinoids. And provisioning centers add an edible and flour. Some people do an eighth, some people do a couple of grams, some people do pre-rolls. It depends on the provisioning center. And it's just a way for the provisioning center to give a little sample of what they have to offer to people, and also to take out the intimidation and just say, you know what, if you don't know what you want to get, grab a culture kit. It's got a little bit of everything in it, and it'll show you how to do it. And if you take too much, drink the CBD tea. So, or, just wait on the last Thursday of every month. Nurse Kathleen and I will be available at 7:00, and the Zoom events are free. You can sign up on my website at cultureclub.com. And yeah, the last Thursday of the month at 7:00, we can sesh together, we can sip together, and we can talk about a health issue and get some information.
Is there a registration through an Eventbrite system or through your website, Q Culture?
Yes, it's through culture, because Eventbrite is really, really tough on the cannabis industry. So yeah, even when I did events before, Eventbrite was maybe they're a bit more accommodating now, but before they were problematic with the cannabis industry. But so no, everything is on my events page at cultureclub.com, and I also put it, and cultures with a Q because my nickname is Q. And so, but and also I'll put it out on social media. It's always on our social media as well before the events. But the easiest place, cultureclub.com, and there's even on the front, on the home page, is information about tea parties right there.
In our chat, Becky Walters says, I bought a kit, didn't get to do the online part yet. So you have only just a couple of weeks left before you have another tea party. So that opportunity will come right up.
Yes, right. So we'll see you then.
So you're also on the board of directors of the Michigan Cannabis Industry Association. Plus you were just involved in the social equity work group with the Marijuana Regulatory Agency.
So before we get right into that, I wanted to talk about, and there was a little bit of discussion on Safer Mich about this, the use of social equity and racial equity. Didn't the group make a decision at one point what the focus was going to be and use that term?
Well, before the group was empaneled, Michigan had a social equity requirement, and there's social equity requirement in because of Michigan laws. Michigan does not keep track of racial data. So they had no way of really knowing who was taking advantage of the social equity provisions of the law. When they delved deeper, though, they did find that very few, if any, Black or brown people were taking advantage of the social equity thing, because it's not based on race, it's based on where you live. So the spirit of the law was to address the inequities in arrest records. And the inequities show that if you were Black or brown, you were 4 times more likely to be arrested. So the state decided, or the MRA, I'm not sure who, but that was not the work group. When we were impaneled, social equity was changed to racial equity, and the focus of the group was specific to racial equity. And so, which brought up its own challenge, because Michigan has a provision in its law that prohibits affirmative action. So how do you have racial-based provisions when you can't mention race in the law? So, so there are a couple of challenges, but still, the goal is to increase minority, specifically Black and Brown, participation in the industry, and how to go about doing that. So the group came up with 16 initial suggestions on ways to increase possibly minority participation in the industry. So from here, the agency is putting together a standing advisory group, and the members of that group will take the suggestions from the first group and work on implementing those, or editing those, or dismissing those. Who knows? But that's what happens next. So, and that was the goal of the group. And yes, it did change from social to racial.
Thank you for clearing that up. It was in the air, and I didn't quite know exactly what was going on.
Let's get it out of the air.
And I continue to use the old school social equity, and maybe that's incorrect, and I should change that as far as what we're dealing with. Of the 16 recommended proposals, I know they were ranked in order of the ones that were most preferred versus least preferred. I think the least preferred got the most attention, which is the way media always works. But what were the most preferred by the group that would be suggestions that would be workable and actionable?
The most preferred was the making the micro grow more profitable. That was highly favored. The Michigan marijuana market proposal, which was the crowdfunding sort of stock market proposal, that was very popular and highly ranked. The education piece, to require some sort of education for public-facing staff, and a suggestion that continuing education be offered to medical professionals here in Michigan, to have that part of their continuing education choices. Let's see. A webinar series for municipalities to help them as they draft ordinances to opt in, because we need more communities to opt in. Off the top of my head, that's that's what I can think of. Oh, a research proposal. We looked a lot at some of the research proposals, or some of the research programs that were implemented, mostly in Pennsylvania. Looked at those and tried to sort of mirror what they were doing in those states in regard to research. Yeah, that's off the top of my head. That's what I can remember. So,
now, you were part of the Prop 1 group that helped get legalization brought to Michigan, and of course, part of that was a $20 million payment to veterans for a study for veterans and PTSD, and it appears that money has not been allocated the way it was supposed to be. Perhaps it's lost in a paperwork shuffle, or they're seeking proposals for it. But that's a concern to many of us on this call. Do you feel concerned the fact that they didn't allocate that already, and that they gave money to townships and cities already?
Yes, but it's sad to say I'm not surprised. You know, it's we all know going into this that once it's out our hands, it's out our hands. And
Yeah, I want to let you know it's 5:25. And
oh, thank you.
just so I know you have another thing coming up, and
I have yes.
you're limited, but your answer, yes, seems to be kind of similar to others. That
seems to be like all of our answers.
Probably uncool, but not surprised.
Right, and you know, I mean, it would be nice if we had some more vets who were more vocal about this, because we need to. All of us here, you know, we raise the BS flag, but these are men and women who have given, you know, so much and some everything for this country, and we can't even give them the truth. And that's what's messed up, because whether you want to say, do cannabis or don't do cannabis for whatever reason, right now, if you won't even talk about it with people who could benefit, you're not telling them the truth. So, and that's the real shame. And then on top of it, so on top of not telling them the truth, you're taking money that could help them too, when they're killing themselves at 22 a day. So, but you say you care, but your actions show questionable stuff. So,
I love it.
Right on.
yeah. But yeah,
that's fantastic. Yeah, drop a bomb like that and then take a drink. Great news anchorish. That's awesome.
No,
I'm learning all the time from you. That's great.
Oh, thanks. Oh no, or from you guys, please.
No, the fact is that there's a lot going on in Michigan, and some of it's legislatively related, and some of it's culture related, and some of it's municipally related, including some issues in Detroit. I know you don't have a whole lot of time left, but I mean, I have the best of hopes for Detroit to get the legacy Detroiter issue resolved. Maybe through lawsuits or not, but certainly that seems like a program that could be successful if it's implemented properly. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, the caveat is if it's implemented correctly. And I'm not a legacy Detroiter. Okay, I'm not even a social equity candidate. Right, I just want to just put all of this out here. It's all of us work for the common good. And I when I look at what's happening in Detroit, I have questions. I have lots of questions, and I wonder in trying to help your community, is the way you're going about it helping or hurting? When you look at communities like Hamtramck, Highland Park, these are places that may have, Hamtramck has 2 rec places, but already, or adult use. So what's happening? So to the 47 Detroit provisioning centers who have billboards right next to their provisioning centers suggesting they call up Lantern or somebody and get it delivered. It's a challenge, and it's I wonder how sustainable it is when you have some provisioning centers that have been operating for, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, and now all of a sudden they're being told that if they want to continue operating, they have to give up half of their business to someone they don't know.
Yeah, maybe they shouldn't. They're stretching too back in time for the legacy.
Yeah.
I mean, how many years back is it? It's like 15, right? That's a lot, though. I mean, there's people 10 years, in the city. That's, to me, if you're 10 years in the city, how are you not a resident of the city anymore?
Right.
You're a resident of the city. You've been there. You're sweating along with everybody else, grunting along with everybody.
There are people, though. There needs to be extra attention to going through this process and what to expect. There are people who don't have a reference at all to having a business, but whose lives would be elevated if they could get in on this. Maybe just some kind of grandfather clause. We talked about this before. People who like you had said, had opened a business like 10 years ago and they're really grunting it out and blah, 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 I don't know what the solution is, but she's right. You can't just block people who have good knowledge and could really help and really know how. It's difficult. Some of those people are shady too. So right. So that's what I'm ready to say. There's risk for a predatory funding coming in here. And
this is cannabis, folks. Yes. This is Michigan cannabis.
Anytime someone has an opportunity to achieve their dream, there's somebody there looking to stab them in the back just before they achieve it. So.
And I just think that there are some things because, for example, Detroit is also holding up. They're doing a 1-to-1 licensing for grows as well. So that's
I thought it was just retail.
No, it's the cap is for retail, but still, if you have a grow and you're trying to get adult use license, you're subject to the same licensing structure, and you won't get your license until legacy Detroiters have gotten their licenses. And so if you don't have a bunch of legacy Detroiters who want to set up 20,000 square foot grows,
Yeah.
you're waiting for quite a while to get your adult
Yeah.
use, license. And is that fair?
So
We
there is a
feel people are
lawsuit.
gonna go for it and fail, because that's what's gonna happen. A lot of people don't know what they're doing. They're just gonna fail.
Yeah,
Right.
there's
I see that,
there's
We've
that
talked
website
about
420 pullup.com. 420pullup.com helps people. It's called Black Cannabis Access by BCA.
Okay.
But
that's Mitzi's organization.
yeah, that's an organization that's helping
Yeah.
people at least find their way through it. Because I know there are people that are charging $15,000 to $50,000 to help people get their license, and it ends up.
There are. Yeah.
Tell people all the
So
time.
there
Yeah,
is
it's a whole business now. So, like anything else, people move,
So there is a lawsuit, and we predicted it, and it wasn't not that was much of a stretch,
Right.
and so those types of concerns that kind of Q pointed to, and some other things too, it has to be gone through the process to determine what the deal is with that. But other than that, as Rick was saying, there could be some. That's like one of the first ones though to try to put some teeth into, like social equity or a racial equity program.
And I just, I feel too that, they have 47 licensed, but 4 of the 47 are legacy Detroiters. So, I don't know. I look at it like if at one time Detroit had 300 provisioning centers, would it be so bad to have 90? I mean,
right.
if Ann Arbor has 28, how many liquor stores are there? How
Each
many
area should have as many that are supported.
Right. Especially like we talked about the community grab was 28 grand per facility.
Denver
They
has
just
several
distributed.
hundred.
That's nice.
Denver
Yeah.
has several hundred, and they all function fine, and
Yeah.
they all make money.
I just say,
Yeah.
what, just stop it right now. All the rest of the licenses go to legacy Detroiters. But
Yeah.
we're already
There you go.
have at it.
Right. Yeah. And the other ones are grandfathered in, and you're good. So I think it'd be fine. You have to compromise somewhere.
I would think, and I hope,
Yeah.
because
So it could have been done right up front, but it's going to be done now through the courts. But after that, hopefully there really are some people whose lives get elevated because of this new industry opportunity.
Yeah, the new industry and the taxes for the city. There's so many things they got to get this, get it to the max so that everybody benefits.
We really have to come up with a program that municipalities can embrace regarding racial equity or social equity, because the cities that have already passed ordinances allowing cannabis, it's difficult to get them to go back and add a social equity component. All their licenses are already awarded. What we need to do is be able to make sure that all the new cities that adopt brand new ordinances have an equity component to it. And if we show them an example of one that physically works and benefits their city and their residents, then people are likely to do that. And I would hope that we could come up with one of those so that every new community in Michigan that says yes gets a really good program, the way that we define really good.
I agree. Yeah. So on that note,
Yeah, you're past. You've stayed with us longer. We really appreciate it, but know that you're limited.
Thank you, Q.
thank you guys. I'm off to at the Detroit Public Library for the League of Women Voters. So we're doing communities of interest, because you guys know what was also on the ballot when Prop 1 passed was Prop 3, the whole redistricting thing. So that's happening right now. So feel free to join us at the League, especially if you want to help your communities redistrict and draw your own maps. And so that way your community isn't gerrymandered like my district, the 14th.
It's gonna be a big difference in 2022 when we get that stuff straightened out. I appreciate that work on that.
No problem. No problem. Thank you guys. And thank you guys always for having me on.
Appreciate you.
Good time. See you later.
Boy, a couple of really good interviews today. That's nice.
Yeah.
So I was going to bring up this whole story with Anthony earlier. It was one of the pivotal moments, I guess, in the emergence of this whole movement to me. He put on, we were working at Third Coast together, as mentioned earlier, and he put on this chili cook-off contest in Jackson area near where he was living. And there was a tent, and you had to show your card to get in it.
This is 2010.
Yep. And we set it up where people were selling, or 29 maybe. I don't remember, but it could have been 2010. I guess all kind of.
It was after Third Coast opened, so it was 2010.
Okay. Well, I don't think it was after Third Coast Open because this was the first time I saw sales. That's what I'm trying to say. Like in this tent, you had to show your card, and then there was like a couple of jars up on the counter, and somebody was selling like $10 grams or something like that.
Uh,
And I was like, wow, this is really
it's
happening.
happening,
Can we
yeah.
do this? You know?
That's fantastic.
Oh,
You know, there's
Yeah, he was a force, man, back then. He's a little bit more mellow now, you know, but he was kind of a force, for better or worse.
First time I came to Third Coast, we'd begun publishing Michigan Medical Marijuana Magazine in December of 2009, and I went there in November. It was still nice outside to interview Anthony at Third Coast. Never been there before. Kirk Reed had a roller in his hand, a paint roller. He was rolling paint on the walls, and Jamie was somewhere. But I went into Anthony's.
Working my ass off.
somewhere.
Yep,
Right.
no, you were not. Absolutely were not working your ass off.
Probably
So,
smoking
Anthony's-
people down.
that was your job. Then you were
Peanut butter was painting too. Yep.
Yep. But
Work in the room.
Anthony has his desk, and he's got like 3 cameras pointed at his desk and a light pointed at his desk, and he's got this really nice chair, and he's clearly, you know, making the focus of all attention was on that one particular spot. And he was a bombastic character back then, and because of that, got a couple more media interviews than maybe he would have otherwise if he was just bland and boring.
And he ended up leaving for various reasons. He'll talk to people about it, I guess. You know, I have, and you know, it's just we're in the future now, and he's mellowed out. And but one of the reasons that I kind of like came more to the forefront in that whole operation was because of his leaving, and because of he had established already that media train, and somebody had to kind of step into it and answer the questions when they came by.
So if not for him, we would not have the great Jamie Lowell.
That's very possible. He was definitely a
Wow.
big part of how everything unfolded early on. There's no question about that.
And he had big dreams. Not only did he dream of having a distribution center there, but early plans to have a glass shop inside there. Also a social lounge downstairs at the place, and the big event at the Eagle Crest Golf Course in Ypsilanti. A lot of the big.
We did all that, man. We used to have that room where people could, after they purchase their shit, go use it, which is how it should be, you know. And
we had one at Big Daddy's, and it was the highlight of the place. I'll tell you.
hell yeah, that was in Oak Park. Yeah. Well,
was-
really, probably at all of them, on some level. But
Well, no, in Burton it was just a trailer. There was no space there actually to do it, but in Detroit they did. But you know, but no, I mean the fact is, Anthony was there at the beginning of the medical era. So, yeah, give credit where credit's due.
yeah, there's a little history. We try to slide some in. We got
Well,
a twofer with that
well,
interview.
When you talk about people having some longevity in the industry, some people had to leave the state to find their success. Some people kicked around and decided Michigan was really the place they needed to be. I just like to see folks get what's due. You know, so rarely does it happen anymore. I just like to see folks make good. So,
Learned a lot along the way, and has done some consulting, and he's lined up with these guys who have a similar philosophy. So I hope everything works out.
yeah. So as far as the digital hash bash goes, we talked a little bit about it being on Twitch. We talked about some of the people that are going to be on there, but let's talk a little bit more about it in the few minutes we have left on the show, because it's a big deal. We put out a press release this week, and it talked about some of the amazing folks that are going to be on the program, but we're going to have representatives from 4 major sports on there. We'll have Calvin Johnson representing the football, Joel Zumaya from the baseball, of course, Darren McCarty, our big dude from the hockey, and Al Harrington of Viola Products, based in Detroit. Al Harrington from the basketball world. So in
Eugene
addition,
Monroe too.
that's true. Yeah. So in addition to having a lot of politicians and figures, decision makers, we're also going to have a good representation of people who've come from professional world, could have retired and not ever touched cannabis ever, and chose to do this because this is where their passion fell. That's inspirational as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Jim?
Yeah,
Well, I
go
was
ahead.
just going to say it just speaks a lot to just how wide ranging cannabis travels to helping people in sports. And you're seeing more like from the NBA as far as I think with the bubble, they didn't test for cannabis for people in the bubble,
Right.
Wow.
which I thought was pretty telling. I think the NFL is starting to lessen their rules on it too, so it's good to see.
Imagine what those hotel rooms smelled like. They weren't testing for cannabis. They must have just, these guys don't care about a damage deposit. Are you kidding me? They're making millions. So,
Well, you would have to
all
if you were
day.
like locked in a hotel room
Oh
for
my
weeks on
God.
end. Shit, delivered little styrofoam packed meals. Hell,
Yeah.
Rick knows all about that. He
yeah.
knows about hotel rooms.
Oh, are we
Rick knows
talking
about
about?
hotel rooms.
Well,
Well, you've been there
Don't
with
give him the
Tell him
platform,
what's
man. He likes to own those things, and then it comes.
Rick's
a lot
a
of people would be
traveling man,
jealous if
apparently.
they had 5 people in a shower. A lot of people would be jealous about that. We'll just leave it vague. And they can imagine.
Yeah.
Way to go.
You Motel 6, man.
No, actually,
Watch Medical Mondays from last night. And
can't get 6 people in a Motel 6.
graphic depiction.
No
of that
way.
very scene.
Big old casino. Big old casino. Bathtub. You know it. Walk-in shower with the glass walls all around.
Oh,
Yep.
shit.
I know. Got to be first class if you're gonna go a half dozen in the wet room.
God.
Yeah. Well, 2 shows have now been ruined by this story.
3, I'd say.
But I'm so
It's
bad at
spilled
ruining.
over into another
Two
show.
shows in a row. 3 shows in a row.
I am the master of destruction. Ha ha. No. Digital hash bash, though, if we come back to that, we're also going to have Laith Al-Sadi, of course. Laith, famous for many, many reasons, but one of the things he does better than anybody else, in my opinion, is play the Star Spangled Banner at the beginning of hash bash. Jim.
Yeah, it's one of the it's a classic. It's nostalgic. And he's an amazing guitarist that performs like no other. It's gonna be great to have him.
It's
Jamie,
like Hendrix at Woodstock or something,
I mean,
No, it is.
Hey, so Adam's
A
saying he talks
reminder.
about it on Dab and Stab too. So add another show on there.
nice. So yeah, he loves my shower story as well. I bet he's the guy who wanted to see my package and asked Deb to move so he could check it out.
Yeah,
Jamie,
he's seen that package. He didn't need me
I
to
know.
move.
I've known Adam for a long time. Jamie, we're going to do a lot of pre-recorded segments from famous people on the digital hash bash. Can you talk about that?
I can. Most of the speakers are going to have 2 to 3 minutes. Some are going to have a little bit more. Michael Thompson agreed to on this very show to do a few minutes. The governor, the attorney general, a couple of lawmakers, a senator. Senator Irwin, Representative Robbie. I think Congresswoman Debbie Dingell.
Ellie Savitt.
Washtenaw prosecutor Ellie Savitt, my very favorite out of this entire list that we just went through. The guy should be an example for all others, our AG and other prosecutors around the state. But it's going to be a good. Darren's going to be there live, I believe. That was last said. So I'd like to believe
Cool.
that's going to be the case. It usually is, and. So it's just going to be a fun day, and it's going to be kind of a polished production because there's going to be an opportunity to take a lot of those pre-recorded segments and have them lined up properly and orderly. And we're looking at last estimate about 3 hours or so with the music. And Tom Wall also will be there playing music, and he's done a lot of the that interfacing with the vibrations of the plants while playing music and getting the tones coming from the plants and the plants playing music along with them. And it's just really cool. And I believe some of that's going to be going on again too.
And it'll be at least, we're figuring 3 hours. 2 plus, but 3, maybe a little bit more. So you're more than welcome to stop by at any time during the broadcast and check out what we've got going on. I guarantee you'll have a good time then. And if you'd like to watch the entire thing, you can certainly sit down and podcast it, binge yourself on our broadcast if you wish. And
proceeds, because there are some sponsors, they're going to get like a mention, a little bit about them and their logo thrown out there. It's mainly for contributing, and the vehicles getting the donations this year is the newly formed coalition, the Michigan Cannabis Freedom Coalition, with national organizations and local organizations, the Michigan Cannabis Caucus, Last Prisoner Project, many others, Redemption, of course, and instrumental in getting Michael Thompson out and sticking together and working with additional organizations, National Cannabis Defense Lawyers Association, to get more people out. And so money is needed. One of the things when the parole board is just deciding whether or not to let somebody go, they typically have a concern of whether or not that person is going to be able to sustain themselves and have shelter and food and things necessary to get along. And some of these funds go for that. Some of these funds give people money who are incarcerated, who need it for various things, and very good organization, and we'll continue to work on getting more people out. And then the John Sinclair Foundation to preserve his legacy and to bring some funding into those various things, and to create a trust and all that type of stuff. And he obviously is the reason that Hash Bash is there, and to be able to contribute to that and help in that way is honorable, and looking forward to that. And then the Hash Bash itself, we'll take some of the funds and use that as the basis for going into next year for when we can gather live again and have a really nice, huge production on the diet. So there you go.
I like that.
And also, since you were talking about the Michigan Freedom Coalition, there is a call to action out there to get Governor Whitmer to grant clemency to Michigan cannabis prisoners.
One of those pre-generated email things. Right?
Yeah, right. And also, similarly, Decriminalized Nature Michigan has something on our page. If people could go out there and share it to their lawmakers to decriminalize entheogenic plants and fungi in the state of Michigan. So we're having meetings every couple weeks, and yeah. It's
so Adam's asking if there's going to be a live feed from the Diag, and we have people who are willing to do that. The issue is with the studio whether or not they can take it in under the circumstances and how we're setting this up and stuff like that. So
plus our time period is already allocated. We really don't have time to add anything else into the broadcast program at this point, because we have so many speakers and transitions. That's when we originally shot for a 2-hour program. It's going to be 3 because human situations. We've already said no to several other potential additions to the program. I'm not sure there's time.
So there you go. Yeah, it's not been set up. So if it were possible, if we do decide we're going to go longer or whatever, then there are people willing to do it.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
there we go.
Something kind of cool I'd like to announce is the Ann Arbor, the 59th annual Ann Arbor Film Festival is coming up. Mm-hmm. Yep, it's going to be March 23rd through the 28th. You can go to their website, just search, obviously, Ann Arbor Film Festival, and you'll find them. For the community, because we're actually a community partner as a Hash Bash organizers. And we're going to have a little showcase of one of their movies. They're offering our community 10% off their tickets. You can use the code 59AAFF community. That's again 59AAFF community for 10% off the 59th annual Ann Arbor Film Festival.
Jamie, you're on mute.
AA meaning Ann Arbor?
Ann Arbor meaning yes.
F?
Film Festival.
Mm-hmm. meaning film, and F meaning festival.
MOUSE.
Yes. Capital C in community.
White the detective, Jamie Lowell.
Right.
59
Yeah.
AAFF.
It's a great show. They've got great animation shorts.
Man, the old
Really good time.
the old days to go to the Michigan Theater, the Beach Ball, and watch the animation festival, sneaking various substances that helped elevate moods. Have a great
Sometimes you
time.
don't need it with some of that animation. It does it for you.
Wouldn't know.
No,
Animation
you must
that-
have both. You must have both.
That's some good stuff.
Man, there used to be the Monty Python Festival there every year. That went down a long time ago. Well, that was a blast.
That should still go on because I love Monty. Whatever.
Paul Young's is leaving us, but glad that he comes on a regular basis and checks it out, which is cool.
Fantastic.
Lawyer
Well, I
from
hope
downriver.
Hope everybody had a good time with this
Yeah.
tonight's broadcast. We had some great guests.
Hey, Berg, as we're winding down, you've been observing, you've been soaking a lot of stuff in. You got a lot of stuff going on. What do you want to lay on people before we totally close up shop for the day?
Well, next week we're gonna have our friend and awesome musical guest on, Mike Fate, and we're gonna be talking about some white label brands that he's been dealing with, and often we talk about the bad side on Medical Mondays. We just want to bring some good side to there are some positive big industry cannabis companies out there, and we just want to showcase them too. So
Cool.
Mondays podcast on YouTube, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And then the Michigan Bros Grow Show immediately after.
Yep, the late session. They also go live. I want to say they're going live tonight at 9 p.m. So on Mondays, it's just a late session. So
11 p.m.
Yep.
Yeah. YouTube is a great place to hang out. Tomorrow on 420 Post, we'll be having Anqunette Jameson. She'll be at Sarfoh. She'll come back on to talk about social equity and racial equity a little bit more. And we're also going to talk about the digital hash bash production as well, too. Jamie Cooper joins Mike Brennan and myself for that broadcast. And Jamie is also on the Hash Bash Planning Commission.
He's helping to get the word out.
Yep.
Yep.
Jamie, what's going
Hey.
on with your Thursday gig, man?
Well, Planet Green Trees, host Michael Camorn, Thursday night at 8, as usual. I haven't seen the itinerary yet to know what's going on, but always a good conversation no matter what. But I do know that Deb has been somewhat freed a little bit, has been through the
Yeah, I
vaccine
can go and
process, done some
represent
shit.
the show on the Diag because I'm totally vaccinated and I'm a month past my second dose. I can slap
Nice.
on a mask and feel confident.
We might be moving closer to
Do that.
checking out the studio stuff with Derek, maybe. So
Yeah, there's
feel
one
about
other
that.
person on my block besides me and my husband who had both doses. And yesterday the CDC said we can meet indoors without a mask. So me and David Kendra, man, the three of us, in the whole neighborhood, we can meet indoors.
Do a little square dancing.
Yeah, what the hell?
Very cool. But you took it seriously and made sure that you were bundled up in there. So
Yeah.
Keep
So
it on.
I'm still alive, but then so are people who didn't take it seriously. So I don't know,
they Drew Hall just chimed in just to say that thanks for having him on and stuff like that. That was cool. Apothecary.
Yeah, that was real cool.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
That was fun. But Deb, for the peace of mind that you have, I know it was something that brought you a lot of anxiety, and you really did change your lifestyle from COVID, and to have
Dude.
some sense of return, that's got to be.
Yeah.
It's weird and really we haven't gone anywhere. We haven't gone in a restaurant or anything. I still don't feel like I can do that. So, we'll see, baby steps.
Yeah.
I mean, we did nothing else. I mean, I'm trying to think, where did we even go? We've got some carry out. We weren't even getting carry out through this thing. So we decided it's okay, we get carry out, blah, blah, blah.
Got some pizza.
Yeah, we did. We got some real pizza.
Mm.
It was very exciting, I must say.
Well, but by the same token, you also learned a bunch of new things, including having grocery delivery services and
Yeah,
being able to rely on some services that maybe you never would have taken advantage of before.
never. And I'm still using the grocery, and then also an inner peace. I was able to find like an inner quiet, and something that hasn't been there for a while, and some kind of like a calmness.
Mhm.
It just, I don't know. I think that life has changed. I don't know if it's ever going to be the same. I don't know if it will be for me, because I'm kind of looking around real weird. Maybe just being a little weirdly paranoid, and maybe it'll go away, but I don't know. We'll see.
I think the consuming public learned that we can live without a lot of things that maybe we thought we could
Yes,
never live without, right? And perhaps
definitely.
maybe there's a little bit more of a sense of independent spirit amongst American
Yeah.
citizens now.
But
Those that
Canada,
haven't died.
Yeah, I did a ton of reading. I mean, books and books and books. And I'm a big reader to begin with. I was reading like a book a week, but I'm reading like 2, 3, 4 books a week. It's just really, like I said, very calming. You can just kind of put yourself away. And it sounds like antisocial, but I kind of enjoyed the solitude, kind of.
But by the same token, staying indoors means a lot more television, and that means people who
Yeah.
would normally not consume as much TV have been subjected to the brainwashing, mind-numbing techniques that they saw in last year's presidential campaign. Just a constant barrage of hate and negativity from all sides and all perspectives and points of view. That can't be good. That can't make me.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I wouldn't. Myself, I limited myself to news coverage about like 15 minutes in the morning, then I'd watch like a half hour, late at night or something, because you can't. You get yourself all tied up in that.
But the learning that you can live independent of some of the luxuries that we took advantage of in the past,
Yeah, eating
it's
out.
good lesson. Even though you regretted it, now you know you can if you don't have to. And for
Yeah.
some people, maybe that's a lesson they should have learned a long time ago. But I see that some states have completely limited or removed all restrictions on all businesses and all commerce, and I'm just not sure that that's the right move.
Yeah, I think Florida has been just wide
Texas.
open the whole time.
Yeah.
I've seen people on vacation in Florida, and it's just like, hey, it looks like spring break every day. So.
Tejas.
Oh,
And then like Ohio is like allows for more than us right now.
yeah,
I just hope it doesn't backfire. And I mean, last
yeah,
time
that's
it kind of did, but now there's vaccines. There's more people who actually do use protocol. We're not going that fast. So hopefully it does
yeah.
work out.
I think they've only vaccinated just under 10% of the people in the U.S. though, and that's pretty low still.
Yeah.
I ran across an old episode of the Cannabis News that I recorded, and we talked about EVALI, which was, of course, the vapor, the vitamin E acetate problem with vapor that killed people across the United States, and uh, the statistics showed that states that had legalized cannabis programs had significantly fewer deaths from EVALI because I don't know why, just they weren't getting their stuff from black market sources or whatever. I wonder if there's a correlation between cannabis use states and resistance to COVID-19. I just
Yeah.
wonder.
There might be. That data is probably going to come out. So but as we got kind of out of time, we'll go over a minute or two, though. You got to hear about the Entheo show and what's going on with decriminalized nature and that kind of stuff here before we wrap it up, though. Jim and or Colin.
Theo, Jim, you want to take over the Entheo show?
Well, last week we had this wonderful person on, Melissa Levinsani, that helped start this group in Washington, D.C. And this happened during the pandemic last year, and they ended up sending ballots to households so that then they could be distributed throughout the neighborhood that way or within the household. And they had this real grassroots from the bottom up way of getting decriminalized entheogens in the district of DC there. So really great show last week with some news there. Stay tuned for what we have a week from Friday, because even we don't know. So we'll unless you know something I don't, Colin.
Oh, we had somebody picked. I'm not sure.
I don't think we booked them. I don't think they've signed our paperwork yet.
Okay.
We have a very extensive contract. We have everybody signed before they come on the show.
Your
But
people are
there's a
still
lot
talking
of
to their
people that are wanting to get on the show.
Make them give us
So,
score prints and
I
everything.
just been kicking them along to oh yeah, you can come on 3 episodes from now. I guess.
They start booking those shows in.
Yeah.
Yeah, find out what they're doing next week.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And in a very rare scenario, we actually have a couple of shows booked out for here next week. Richard DeLisi with Stacy and I believe Ashley DeLisi as well. Richard's daughter going to join us. That's another tragic, unnecessary long-term stay in prison over some minor cannabis activity. 32 years of a 90-year sentence.
That's insane.
Yeah. The following week, we're going to discuss the Leonard Peltier story. Free Leonard. I don't know the in-depth story. I know the headlines of it. I know basically what's going on. I've had a couple discussions with Malcolm, who visited him, but we're going to get into that one a little bit with I think the guy's name is Tim. I don't want to mess it up. I don't have it in front of me, but Malcolm, and I got another guy. Last name I believe is Clark. Might be Tim Clark. Does a lot of work. Still does a lot of work on this issue, on this case, and we're going to learn all about it. I'm really interested in that. Free Leonard.
So, Jazz Cabbage Cafe, of course, keep an eye out for all of our streaming episodes on all your major podcast centers. Also, watch for these videos posted on YouTube, including sometimes segments taken out. One of them you'll really want to check out is the Michael Thompson segment that's on YouTube, or the Jerry Millen segment that's on YouTube. Jerry's funny. Michael Thompson will make you cry. Jerry Millen will make you laugh. We have a little bit of everything here on Jazz Cabbage, no doubt.
And well, with that, we're way past by 2 minutes. Normal ending time.
Horrors.
But hey, appreciate it again, everybody. Jazz Cabbage Cafe,
Y'all
another
take
good
care.
show. And March 30th actually be kind of our pre-hash bash show, so we'll have a nice round of people on there to help promote that. So see you guys next week, Jazz Cabbage Cafe.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks a lot.